Hey everybody, it's Michael here from Replica Airguns with another tabletop video review. Today we're looking at the Sig Sauer P365 and this is a CO2 blowback BB pistol. This is the tabletop review, so I won't be shooting any guns in this video. I did get out really quickly just to test fire it because I had to. I just had to try it out real quick just to see how it shot. So I'll just mention a few things about what I experienced, firing off a magazine or two, and then the actual field test shooting video I'm hoping to pump out later on this week. I want to get this gun covered this week because I want to thank Sig for sending it to me. This gun isn't, as far as I know, currently available yet for resale. Soon, I believe it's coming into the stores soon, but I did get my hands on this early because Sig sent it to me. And so I really wanted to share this gun with everybody and get my tabletop video and my field test shooting videos out as quickly as possible. All right, let's talk about specifications here. Now this is a blowback operated gun with a metal slide polymer frame. It uses 12 gram CO2 cartridges. It shoots 4.5 millimeter steel BBs and has a 12 shot dropout full-size metal and plastic magazine. That's right, full size, holds the CO2 and the BBs. I don't know how they did it, but they did. It comes in at about 0.8 pounds or 363 grams, has a claimed FPS of up to 295. This gun has a 3.2 inch smoothbore barrel and shoots in single action only. You'll see that it has green and white dot non-adjustable sights. It also has a working ambidextrous safety along with a rail for accessories. Now this gun is made in Taiwan and distributed through Sig Sauer. If you haven't noticed, it's a replica of the real steel Sig Sauer P365 9mm. Now this is an everyday carry style gun that's striker fired, and I think it's a pretty decent replica. If you look at it, it looks pretty similar in pretty much every way, and it functions very similarly as well. Now it does come in this cardboard box. Let's take a quick look at the box. We'll look around the gun in a bit, but I want to show you the box and what comes in the box. Okay, so you have here some information, up to 295 FPS, semi-auto, Sig Air, 12 round, 12 gram CO2 drop magazine, full blowback, green front dot sight, white in the back, by the way. Okay, probably not going to be too much on the back, just some kind of similar stuff here. Velocity, right? So got some other information here. Magazine release, manual ambidextrous safety, like I said, 12 round dropout magazine, right? And specifications: CO2, 12 gram, blowback, semi, all metal slide, polymer frame, 0.8 pounds, 295 FPS. Accessory rail, it says none, but I kind of thought it had one. Maybe it's not really an accessory rail, but it looks like it has one. Maybe you can put some sort of an accessory on there. So maybe I'm wrong about that. It says right here, none. And here we go, 12 rounds, 4.5 millimeter. Okay, what comes in the box? Of course, you're gonna get your manual, right? Okay, some information here about the gun. Takedown lever. Although I wasn't able to take the gun down, so I don't know if it's actually possible. I tried. I'm not going to do a field test or a field strip for you guys today because I couldn't get the slide off. I think you have to take screws out, and I don't like to do any type of field strip if I have to actually remove parts and screws and pins and things like that. If the gun's made to take down or field strip, then I'll do it for you guys, but if it's not easy, then generally I don't. Okay, I got 3 of these bags of BBs, and Sig did mention that it's really important what BBs you use in this gun. Use a high quality, like a zinc coated BB. I wouldn't use like the copper coated ones. They tend to almost kind of rust or tarnish, you know, and they leave a dust residue, and I don't think that's good for the guns. And I think, you know, using a high quality BB is going to be imperative to this gun, and I'll kind of get into that in a bit when I explain when I shot it, kind of my experience and how I felt when I shot the gun in terms of how the BBs load and stuff. Okay, so 3 of those. I don't know if you're going to get 3 of them, but I did. Keep in mind, this is sort of a pre-release gun that they sent me. It may only come with 1 bag of BBs. I'm not sure. You do get your Allen key for tightening the CO2 screw, of course. Quickly, I want to compare it to some other guns just so you can get an idea of size, right? So here we have a P365. This is a Sig air gun as well, the P365. I've reviewed this gun. Oops, there goes the mag. And you can see that they're pretty different in size, right? Like really, it's like night and day. Obviously, one is a full-size gun. You know, you probably would use like, well, a military gun, right? So obviously a military style gun, something you would use as your sidearm. And this is your everyday carry, pocket gun almost. I hate to say pocket, but you probably want to put it in some sort of holster. You could put it in a pocket, I imagine. It's really tiny. Okay, so that gives you an idea of what it compares to. And this isn't even the biggest of guns, but it's a pretty solid, hefty gun. And then we have a pretty small gun here. Like, this is a concealed carry gun, I imagine. PPS, right? A Walther PPS. But you can still see, like, especially looking at the grips, right? The handle, they're just like, they're so different in size. Maybe from the top in width, but length different, obviously. Overall length of the gun, like top to bottom, just everything about the P365, it's just so much more compact. And this one has a stick mag, not even a full-size dropout mag. So we'll get into the mags later. Probably the closest gun in size would be the PPK, the Walther PPK. Now this isn't going way back on one of the first original guns I ever reviewed, a blowback CO2 BB pistol. But again, this gun, as you can see, they've actually had to extend the mag a little bit, or the handle, and keep everything kind of long. You got the CO2 screw that comes out. Some of the newer versions that have actually Allen keys, which makes them look a little bit better. But you can see it's definitely longer, bulkier, maybe a little smaller in here just because it's rounded. But if you look at the actual grips, the grip is much thicker on the PPK, just bigger in general, bigger gun in general. And again, this one doesn't have a full-size dropout magazine, right? It's got the stick mag, which is what you'd almost expect in such a small gun, a BB gun that is anyways, right? All right, so let's do a walk around. Let's get in tight and take a look at this gun. Nice and tight here. My camera will focus for me. There we go. So, okay, so let's take a look. Let's take a nice close look. This is the takedown lever. And as I was explaining, I've tried to take the slide off by moving this around. It doesn't feel like it clicks or engages or de-engages, disengages anything. I think what you actually have to do is take the screw out to get the slide off. And I'm not going to do that in this video. It's not meant to be taken apart regularly or field stripped, because you need tools, right? So it's not like, it's not like field strippable. Field strippable means you really don't need tools to do it. You do have slide catch release, okay? Sort of locks back. It's that semi kind of, not exactly full blowback. The blowback does come back a lot, but the slide catch is kind of halfway up, typical of a lot of these guns. Okay, you do have the P365 there. You do have an ambidextrous safety. I'll show you the other side in a second. You do have basically your magazine release is just on the one side. I'm going to pull this out because it does have CO2 in it, just to give you an idea of how the trigger feels. So it's pretty short take up and really easy, okay? That said, when you're actually shooting this gun, you can see how this kind of goes back. So this is designed to go into the magazine and seal it off a little bit so that it has more CO2 efficiency, so it's going to shoot a little bit harder. If there was no, if this didn't go into the magazine, there would be a gap between the magazine and the barrel, causing some CO2 to leak out, which would reduce blowback, reduce CO2 efficiency and power, right? So they're trying to get the most out of this gun. That will come at a bit of a sacrifice. And what I mean by that is when you have BBs in the magazine, okay, when that goes in there and pushes the BBs, basically the barrel goes into the magazine, there is some friction as it kind of works its way around the BB and pushes it into the barrel. There is some friction there. I did notice it. It's not nearly as light as when you're just pulling it, right? So this is just like crazy light. There's just nothing going on. Even if I do this, right? So there's nothing in it. There's really not a lot of friction because I'm not pushing a BB into the barrel. The barrel is just going into the opening. It's not working its way around a BB. Now I imagine at the top of the mag, when the magazine's full, there's more friction on the BBs. There's more pressure on it. It'll probably be a little heavier. As you get lower in the magazine, it seemed to be less frictiony, okay? So just expect that. That's just the way it is. Let's take a look at this mag while we got it out. Okay, so your CO2 goes in there. Top of it's metal, body of it's plastic, all right? With the CO2 in it, it's got decent weight. You obviously have a metal screw here, right? It's got decent weight, but it's not a super heavy mag. With the CO2, it does help the weight of the gun. Probably gets this gun up closer to a pound when you've got it fully loaded with BBs and CO2, from 8.8 to at least 0.9, maybe a pound, so close to 16 ounces, okay? All right, so you do have this. I thought it was a rail. I'm thinking maybe you could use it as a rail. Maybe I'm mistaken. On the box, it says no rail, but you do have your licensing, right, all through this gun. You do have your white dot sights in the back. Open ejection port that I showed you already. Okay, got your green dot on the front. You do have a recessed barrel. Okay, now here is where the instructions are, and I love that I can't barely even read them. They're very, discreet. Barely notice them at all. That's the way it should be. Right? Umarex, take a note. All right, we got some markings here. Serial number, Sig Sauer. Okay. There's your ambidextrous safety. Right, so you can see there's no dot on that side, but the safety does work both sides. All right, non-adjustable sights. Really nice looking gun. Okay. All right, let's go over some of the pros and cons. This is really the smallest CO2 BB airgun on the market today that at least I've come across. And somehow Sig managed to get a full-size dropout metal magazine or plastic and metal magazine that holds both the CO2 and the BBs. Pretty incredible, really. When I saw the Sig P365 at SHOT Show this year, I was like, whoa, this is pretty crazy. Now overall, it's a good replica of the real steel P365 Sig Sauer pistol in terms of looks and operation. It really mimics the real steel version a lot. Of course, you're going to find full Sig Sauer markings and licensing since it is designed and distributed through Sig. And as I showed you in the walk around, it has a working ambidextrous safety and the slide catch release locks back after the last shot. You're going to find it's got a pretty snappy blowback operation. At least that's what I found when I did some test shooting with it. And it does have those white and green dot sights front and back. So green on the front, white on the back for easy sight acquisition. Now I'm going to say there's a rail for accessories, but Sig says no on the box. But then I look at the gun and I think maybe there's some sort of an accessory you can put on there. Maybe, maybe not. And again, you're going to find that recessed barrel opening and an open ejection port for added realism. And I also like that the warning instructions are super discreet. I can't even read them with my older eyes here, and I think a lot of you would probably struggle to read them, which is a good thing on an airgun. I don't like those warning instructions to be standing out so much. All right, a couple cons. The single action only trigger feels really good without BBs in it. Super light, super short. When you put BBs in there though, it's really short, and that short pull is actually bringing that inner barrel back and into the magazine. It's got to work its way around that BB and kind of push the BB into the barrel from the magazine. And so there is a little bit of friction when this gun's loaded up. Probably more friction with a fully loaded magazine than a semi-loaded magazine, but keep that in mind. The trigger pull is a little heavier than what you're gonna get when it's not loaded up. Is it still totally usable? For sure. Now, something I didn't really mention just yet is this gun has a polymer frame, okay? So metal slide polymer frame. The real steel version has a metal frame, at least according to Wikipedia. It has a metal frame. As far as I know, this is true. And I imagine it's because it's such a small frame with a 9mm round that they probably had to reinforce it or at least make it metal, because a smaller plastic or polymer frame just probably couldn't handle the 9mm rounds. Now, having a polymer frame with the BB version, since it's not 9mm, is going to be no problem, and it looks great, it feels great, so no big deal there either. And lastly, as I mentioned earlier, it's not field strippable, at least easily. I believe you're going to have to take that screw out. I haven't tried it myself, but it looks like that's all you got to do is take that little Phillips screw out, and it probably comes apart. I don't recommend you take guns apart when you got to actually use tools. There's usually a reason for it. And perhaps there's some small parts that might kind of escape and get lost. I have people all the time saying to me, hey, I took my gun apart, broke a spring, lost this part. How can I get these extra parts, or how can I get these parts? I'm like, you know what? Airgun companies don't generally supply these parts that easily. They're going to be hard to find. So just keep the gun in whole. There's really no reason to take these guns apart too often. You can just use basic lubrication on your CO2. There's no gunpowder that you have to clean out of them or anything like that. If you want, you can maybe put a cleaning swab down the barrel once in a while. That's all you really got to do. So just leave these guns as they are. I didn't talk too much about the shooting of the gun, and I kind of mentioned it here and there during this video, but when I took it out, it seemed to have pretty decent power. I was shooting targets at about maybe 30 feet away, hitting pop cans, no problem with it. The blowback, like I said, is super snappy. It was actually louder than I thought it would be. It's got quite a pop to it when you shoot it, at least on a full CO2. And again, it seemed pretty accurate. So stay tuned for my field test shooting video where I'm actually going to load it up with a brand new CO2. We're going to check out the FPS, see if it gets close to that 295. We're going to shoot it down range 30 feet on a target, see what kind of accuracy we get. So stay tuned for that. Again, this gun, as far as I know, isn't actually being sold at the time of this video through anybody that I know of. We do sell SIG airguns over at the replica.airguns.ca and .us websites. So as soon as they're available and as soon as we can get our hands on them, we will sell them there, and I'll put links in the description when they're available. I'll also put a link in the description for the written post over at replicairguns.com, where we'll have additional photos and information from this video review. All right, thanks for watching. Don't forget to subscribe. Check us out on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. If you're interested in other products like air guns, BB guns, airsoft guns, blank guns, pellet guns, and other accessories, go visit our replicairguns.ca and replicairguns.us links for Canada and US online replica airgun stores. All right, thanks for watching. Until next time, take care.